young girl who was found crying, mother nowhere to be found. And it exhorts the neighbors and the villagers to tend to the distress of this little girl. I suppose the African saying, it takes a village to raise a child, is an apt one. Later on, the mother arrived to calm down the situation. Thank you very much, Superintendent Fatou Senghor. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Alhaji Aliyu Momar Njai, Chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, to deliver his statement. In 2016, Chairman Njai gained worldwide admiration for his steadfastness and courage in declaring the presidential election results, which was the will of the people to end 2 decades of dictatorship. Mr. Njai had a successful career as a businessman, whilst being a veteran youth and community activist. Sir, we invite you to the podium.
Your Excellency the Vice President, representing the President of the Republic, Adama Barrow, Honorable Ministers, Ambassadors, Secretary General, Governors, members of the Assembly, religious leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The Independent Electoral Commission has been established by the 1997 Constitution with the mandate to conduct and supervise the election of political parties, eligible voters, conduct all public elections and referenda, the conduct of the election of Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, to register political parties, the election of election dates and results in line with the laws. The conduct of elections is the business of all citizens and stakeholders, and the conduct of credible elections is characterized by inclusiveness, transparency, accountability, and competitiveness. On this backdrop, be in place so we not only vote, but they will be voted in to be in Parliament as well. Out-of-country voting is the extension of the franchise to citizens of the Gambia living abroad. The legal framework has been in place for Gambians living abroad to vote, but the political will has not been there from the erstwhile administration. The growing interest of the involvement of our citizens who are temporarily or permanently resident outside the country in the electoral process has been the desire of the Commission for too long. The involvement of Gambian citizens in the electoral process who are of age without reasonable restrictions is fundamental in our democratic process. The International Covenant Protocol Article 49, 1976 of the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, and by extension, the exercise of the political rights of Gambians to vote and be voted for is constitutionally guaranteed. Cognizant of the fact that democracy is the system of government in which political power is derived from the people, is the most recognized system of government throughout the world. The IEC in June 2019 conducted consultations on electoral reforms with the ultimate aim to improve democratic elections and address some inconsistencies in the electoral laws. So many issues which are of importance to elections were tabled before stakeholders across the country. The need for inclusion of Gambians living abroad in the electoral process has also taken center stage in electoral reform consultation across all the regions of the country. The acceptance by stakeholders such as the women leaders, people with disabilities, the press, National Assembly representative of the proposed out-of-country registration and voting would pave the way for an inclusive election. There is a need for out-of-country voting as a result of the increase in the number of Gambians of voting age living abroad, and their call for inclusion in the electoral process. Also, the call by civil society organizations for the involvement of the diaspora Gambians. The anticipated challenges in out-of-country voting would be the legal framework to clearly spell out the mode of registration of Gambians abroad. The countries with a large number of Gambians, the documentation required to be registered to vote, such as birth certificate, passport, ID cards, etc. The portion of any of these documents for identification remain an issue to be addressed in the laws. The possibility of Gambians abroad not to come out to register or vote for fear of being targeted as undocumented migrants could be an issue that would also require proper sensitization. Also, whether if you have double citizenship, you will be allowed to vote, register is another issue. The Commission, in preparation for this mammoth task of registering Gambians abroad, is embarking on study tours to our neighboring countries in order to understudy diaspora voting. So far, we've been to Cape Verde, and we are now in line to go to Sierra Leone and Senegal as well. In order for diaspora voting to come to reality, the Commission would solicit collaboration with the government of the Gambia through the foreign ministry, and by extension, the use of embassies to facilitate registration and voting of Gambians living abroad. The development partners, Gambians in the diaspora in particular, and those living in the country as well. As we prepare for the imminent referendum, maybe October or November, we don't know yet, may I take this opportunity to inform all Gambians that the Commission is contemplating on conducting a general registration of all voters in the Gambia, those in the country and those out of the country, in phases. Firstly, those resident in the country before the referendum and those in the diaspora after the referendum. Because as the law now stands, they don't have the right to vote, but the law says they can be registered. So that when we do a complete voter registration in the whole country by phases, hopefully we'll do that very soon, because the last one we had, general registration, was 2011, and we did supplementary in 2016. And since then, there have been so many Gambians who came back and those who were born are eligible to vote as well. And also the voter registration list, as it is, needs to be amended. It needs complete doing again. We have to do it, complete voter registration, so that all those who are now 18 or will be at 18 at the time of election can be registered. Because we all know that when we did the first register, it was over 800,000. Now we are talking about a million or more. But again, as I said, the referendum, for it to be fair and proper, we must have a complete voter registration. That's complete. May I just end by thanking the organizers, the UK partners, and the others. And may Allah answer our prayers and for the peace and stability that now reigns in this country to last forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Aliyu Mohamed Njie, Chairman of the Gambia Independent Electoral Commission. There is a need for out-of-country voting, he says, because of the increase in Gambians living abroad. Anecdotal evidence is that we are 140,000 people, Gambians living in the diaspora, constituting 7% of national population and contributing $300 million to Gambia's GDP. Without much ado, I will now call Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I will now call Professor Jibril Fall, Director of GK Partners and the MSDG project, to deliver his statement. Jibril Fall is the Vice Chair of BOND, the network of international development NGOs in the UK, and the first visiting professor in practice at the Institute of Global Affairs, London School of Economics and Political Science. Professor, we invite you to the podium.
Your Excellency, Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, Cabinet Ministers, Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service, colleagues, partners, friends, distinguished guests. I take this opportunity to thank the government of the Gambia for its continued support of the project, its guidance, and its collaboration, and of course the Swiss government for their co-financing of the project. I thank the Central Bank of the Gambia for giving us the figures on remittances and for developing their methodology in increasing data verifiability and data credibility on this important part of our economy. I thank the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs for starting technical engagements with us in relation to discussions about the issuance of a diaspora bond. I repeat our gratitude to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the moves they've already made in creating the Gambia Diaspora Directorate and providing the staffing needed for the implementation phase. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, you would have seen the program for today. It's very similar to the programs we've had previously, in that after the opening session, we would have a coffee break and we would go straight into the workshops, interrupted only by the most important period for lunch. The workshops, to remind you, are on health and medical services, on education and skills, on diaspora business and investment, and the presence of the diaspora in the draft constitution and in policy development. Some of the discussions are in the room. We encourage you during the coffee break to see our colleagues so that we can assign you to the rooms. All of the workshops are taking place downstairs, where of course we also have YEPS, Gambia's Good Business Exhibition, taking place. I have said before, perhaps in a flippant manner, that those of us who work in development are in the business of failure. For why are we doing development if we haven't failed in something else? But I've been corrected that I am only half correct, because the business of development can also be the business of needs, wants, and expectations. So the failure is the one on needs, which we are not meeting. But development also includes surpassing needs and delivering on wants and expectations. I think development and the character of it is very similar to the character of the migrant. For why does one migrate? It may be because of failure. They want to preserve life, limb, and liberty. That is the failure part. But sometimes it is not failure, it is aspiration, and it is for the pursuit of improved livelihoods and lifestyles. Here in Gambia, many cultures, and I am pleased with our cooperation with the police band and the introduction of culture in this dynamic of diaspora development. In the culture of the Gambia, many tribes have one morbid fear. The Wolofs, they call it Tumuranke. Tumuranke is the sudden and total loss of social orientation. You turn up to a town without family, without friends, without network, and you face total loss of social bearings. Tumuranke. In these days, it may not reflect itself in the loss of personalities around you. If you are in a foreign land and you lose your mobile phone, Tumuranke, feka sinala. For you suddenly lose all of your social bearings. Many tribes, Your Excellency, would know in this country, would pray, give out alms, and hope that their children will never suffer Tumuranke. And one of the things they do is that they are kind to foreigners who come amongst their midst. For it is a hope that their own children out there would find favor and love and kindness amongst others. What is the link between the character of development, the character of the migrant, and the topic today of development practice and institution building? Madam, I think many times in the institutions of government, we find Tumuranke in institutions. It is the loss of a lead personnel, it is the loss of a driver, and suddenly the very purpose of that institution goes back to naught or suffers or into dysfunction. In Gambia, we try to prevent Tumuranke by loving outsiders. Perhaps in institution building, we can prevent the sudden loss of bearings in institution by loving partnerships, by loving structures, so that when personnel leave, when the document is lost, still the institution carries on its purpose. Partnership is a word that we use very often. There's one category of professionals who use it very sparsely. And this is a category of professionals I have a very disgrudging respect for. And this is the marketeers, the people who sell us things we like, things we don't like, and things we hate, they still succeed in selling those to us, often with money we do not have. And yet they succeed. So whatever they do, it's worth learning about. The marketeers tell us something. They also have partnership in their lexicon, but they use it rarely. They have a concept called the hierarchy of loyalty. They say that the relationship between peoples and peoples and product is on a hierarchy of loyalty. It starts from the lowest level, and they call it suspicion. It goes to another level called prospection, and then a customer relationship, a client relationship, until it ends at the highest level of partnership. When we don't know people or we don't know a product, we are suspicious of it. So at that stage, policy, practice, and approach should be to reduce orderliness and suspicion. When we've tried something and it hasn't killed us or harmed us, we start prospecting a little bit. Should we engage a bit more? And for that, you need different strategy. Then we become a customer to it. That is, we occasionally go, graduating to a longer-term client relationship until we become a partner where we play a part in the very define of that product. So our guidance from GK Partners and MSDG point of view of partnership is first we define our relationship. Where is it on the scale? In our view, we have now passed the scale of suspicion because people have a sense that what we're doing shall not harm them. In some cases, we are still in the area of prospection. They're trying it out. They're not sure about this professor from London. So let's try it out a little bit on. And some have already at the level of customer where we have a regular engagement. Today, on behalf of GK Partners and the whole team, we ask you to join us to the higher levels of that hierarchy throughout all of the institutions of government. And when we then go to work, be it in business, be it in our projects, there are almost three important elements that you must have in order to build institutions. There are many more you should have, but these three, if they are absent, there would be no institution building. First is constancy. The things that need to be done must be done and should always be done. Constancy. Second is consistency. The manner in which it's done should be kept time and time and again, even when it becomes boring and not exciting. And thirdly, there needs to be continuity in that people moving or being promoted does not mean that the program disappears. Mr. Moderator, to prevent failure, we need to feed the hungry beast that is needs, wants, and expectation. And this hungry beast is never satisfied. And so it becomes even more important that we join in partnership, forego suspicion and prospection in order to meet our development requirements and our development aspirations. I thank you all, and I look forward to the discussions during the workshop, and I look forward to seeing you at lunch, and I look forward to seeing you in the afternoon and in the evening, especially when the police band comes on live to present more of their repertoire on nostalgic music and lullabies from the beloved The Gambia. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Professor Fall. We need to feed the hungry beast of needs, and wants. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the day when we call Her Excellency, the Vice President, standing in for His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, President Adama Barrow, to read his keynote statement. I now call upon, and asking you, Madam, to just give us a minute while she stands there. My apologies for that. So that we can hear the Gambian national anthem. Can you all stand up, please? Thank you very much. The Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, Dr. Aissatou Touré, holds a PhD from the prestigious University of Sussex International Development Institute. She is a well-known human rights and gender activist and has been a member of the current cabinet since its inception in 2017. Her Excellency, please, I welcome you to the podium.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Honorable Cabinet Ministers, Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service, Governors, Honorable Members of the National Assembly, Professor Jibril Fall, Ambassador Mariam Michel Kroski from Switzerland, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, Regional Director, Article 19, religious leaders here present, Chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission, Chairpersons of commissions, Superintendent Fatou Senghor leading the police band, members of the media fraternity, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the diaspora present here today, all other protocols duly and respectfully observed. I am here to present the speech of His Excellency, President Adama Barrow, and he asked me to send his greetings and Happy New Year wishes to all of you for meeting together again on a yet very important activity of the 8th region. He sends his blessings. I read forth. It was in this very hall 2 years ago, at the first stake in the Nation Forum, that I had the honor and joy to declare that the Gambian diaspora is the 8th region of our beloved country. That formal recognition was well overdue and I treasure the historical fact that I was the president who made that solemn proclamation. Diaspora as the 8th region is not just symbolism. It is the principle and mechanism through which we can embed diaspora contributions, interests, needs, and expectations within the very workings of the ministries, departments, and agencies of government. The draft constitution, as presented by the Constitution Review Commission, already reflects some of these aspirations of how we mainstream diaspora development. As we conclude the consultative process for the Constitution, we expect that provisions will strengthen the important links between Gambians in the diaspora and every aspect of development in our beloved motherland. As leader of the government and a servant of the people, it is my duty to give to every Gambian at home and abroad what belongs to them as citizens and agents of national development. On the foundations of the strongest structures for human and democratic rights, we need the opportunities and options for responsible and sustainable development at personal, community, and national levels. We need the structures to enable the fulfillment of the full potential of every child and adult, irrespective of socioeconomic background. We need effective frameworks to optimize the contributions of the diaspora and all citizens, so that in our advancement towards sustainable development, no one is left behind. As it is said, the road to hell is paved through good intentions. Having the Gambia National Development Plan 2018 to 2021 is essential, but it is not enough. Having the Migration and Sustainable Development in the Gambia MSDG program is important, but is not enough. A major challenge of development practice is the operational failures that lead to non-implementation. Policies are not enough. Operational vigilance is needed for us to deliver practical results that improve and transform the lives of citizens. This is why I am pleased that the theme for the third stake in the Nation Forum is development practice and institution building. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I repeat my mantra that a government that listens and learns is a government that improves and succeeds. We are in the unfortunate situation that nearly 55 years after independence, the Gambia is still dependent on financial assistance from donor countries. The Gambia, as such, we have no option but to embrace a positive, inclusive, and creative approach to development practice. We need to be efficient and reduce the wasteful and unnecessary cost of government. We need to prevent, detect, and deter corruption. We need to create and improve enabling policies and programs for the diaspora, private sector, and civil society so as to maximize their contributions to development. Through our public sector reform, we need to institutionalize this result-oriented approach so that the positive actions and activities continue and even expand and improve, irrespective of changes in ministerial and political office. 2 years since the launch of the Gambia National Development Plan, we have put in place mechanisms to monitor the NDP implementation. The former policy unit within the Office of the President has been transformed into the Department for Strategic Policy Delivery. I take personal interest in monitoring performance and improvements. Where challenges arise, we admit it openly and seek effective solutions. When we achieve good results and practical impacts, we identify best practices and try to embed them within program activities. If we continue to be open about weaknesses whilst maintaining our focus on positive results and impacts, we shall move purposefully and surely towards high level of operational effectiveness and efficiency. 2 years since the launch of the Gambia Diaspora Strategy, we are getting ready to enter into a promising new era of diaspora public-private partnership called PPP. As Professor Jibril Fall stated in one of his speeches to the United Nations General Assembly in 2013, I see migrants with constrained resources and pressured circumstances extract their families from poverty from a generation. I see governments, multilateral agencies, and NGOs with massive resources and state privileges admit the self-evident failures of combating chronic poverty. For migrants, development is a way of life. The very stuff of life, the dots continue. They are a veritable partner for development. Accommodating and enhancing diaspora input to Gambia's development is not only the responsibility of government, it is also to the benefit of the private sector and civil society. Since the first forum in January 2018, the diaspora have expanded their engagements in the different sectors of Gambian socio-economic and political life. In 2018, their remittances were about $277 million, crossing the quarter of $1 billion mark for the first time ever. As reported by the governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia in 2019, remittances have gone past the $300 million mark. This is evidence of the diaspora's continued development commitment to their country of origin and heritage. As part of the activities during the Gambia Diaspora Month, 15 December to 14 January, the third Diaspora Finance Technical Roundtable was held on 9 January, convened by the Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, the Minister of Finance, and the Director of GK Partners, attended by the banks and money transfer operators based in the Gambia. Among other things, their deliberations included analysis of the practicalities of issuing diaspora bonds as set out in the NDP and Gambia Diaspora Strategy. I am pleased to announce that the Ministry of Finance have already started technical consultations with GK Partners and the MSDG program, and we urge all partners to exercise diligence so that good progress is made in a timely manner. We want to see regulated and well-managed local infrastructure bonds and diaspora bonds to be standard and regular elements in Gambia's financial portfolio. This will mean more self-help, more capital development, and more innovative finance. This will mean Gambian finance for Gambian development. The funds raised from diaspora bonds will be used for specific and pre-identified small-scale infrastructure and development projects. These will be projects which stimulate and facilitate and regenerative activities, especially in geographically deprived communities and in sectors of the social economy that require urgent investment and upliftment. As I conclude, allow me to express our gratitude to the government of Switzerland and to Professor Jibril Fall and his team at GK Partners for co-financing and implementing the Migration and Sustainable Development in the Gambia MSDG program. We encourage other development partners to join this diaspora-led technical cooperation program, especially to support MSDG's transformative activities in diaspora investment, diaspora voting, and engagement in local, regional, and national policy processes. It is now my privilege to open the third Stake in the Nation Forum and to announce that the fourth Stake in the Nations Forum, SNF4, will be on Saturday, 10th January 2020. I wish you well in your deliberations in the workshop and panels and look forward to receiving updates and recommended actions. I thank you all for being here.
Aden chapi piemo, arago chapi malanga. Ayo, 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 bobo wuli piaka. Kakenyiri da wemo, kakente uda wemo. Aden chapi piemo, arago chapi malanga. Ayo, 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 bobo wuli piaka. Jakenyiri da wemo, jakente uda wemo. Aden chapi piemo, harako chapi malanga. Ayo, 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 ayo.
Thank you very much, Gambia Police Band. I reckon that particular lullaby needs no introduction. It is one of the most popular, Ayo Nene, and we all remember a sense of nostalgia, I suppose. Thank you very much. And before that, the band played a congratulatory message to Her Excellency, Your Excellency, the Vice President, I suppose on taking over, I suppose, as the Vice President or being elevated to the position of Vice President of this great republic. So thank you very much. We are nearing the end of this part of today's program. And I would only want to now encourage participants and delegates to remain for the finale this evening, starting from 4:30 to 6 p.m. this evening. It is a televised panel of very knowledgeable people who will be looking at the issue that has been referenced by Aliyu Momanjai, about diaspora voting. So before that, in fact, long before that, we have now come to the end of this part, the plenary. It would be an interlude, a telephone and coffee break of 30 minutes, after which there will be a breakout into the 4 parallel workshops that will be taking place simultaneously. So delegates and participants will be taken to their relevant rooms, but also anybody can choose where is in his own interest what he wants to do and which one of the 4 workshops he wants to attend. So without much ado, I bring this part of today's events to a close.